At my place doing a little bit of mixed reality. I designed this little mechanical room to help instruct basic refrigeration or an AC split system. Now, some of the questions I've always had when I didn't know too much about refrigeration or furnaces was the drain line that comes from the bottom, the drip pan underneath the evaporator, and it just drops in to a P-trap. What kind of water was that? It's called the condensate drain. So typically, it's plain water during the AC or the summer cycle. When the AC is running and the evaporator coil is working, in other words, warm heat is blowing over it and from the ambient room temperature, and the coil absorbs that heat, it actually dehumidifies the air and takes water vapor out of the air, which is great. If you live in Florida or Ontario where it's really humid, your AC system actually helps dehumidify your air. And so it's just plain water that goes out the drip pan, then it goes down the drain, drops into an air break, into a floor drain. And that's plain water. You could even use that water to water your plants if you wanted to. But during the furnace or the heating season, when the furnace is running, the water vapor is mixed with the carbon dioxide from the flue gases, and that carbon dioxide is acidic. So it's actually acidic water that comes down the condensate drain during the heating season. So that's just a little tidbit on it. I use this split cycle or AC split system to teach the basic fundamentals of the refrigeration cycle. So just quickly, as you can see here, here is the evaporator coil during the cooling season, and what happens is when this warm air goes over the evaporator coil, it absorbs some of that heat, and it increases the temperature of the refrigerant during the saturation stage, and it turns it into superheat. And then as this liquid refrigerant goes through the coil, it ends up becoming vapor. And it gets sucked back to the compressor outside. So this is the black insulated pipe that sucks back that vapor on the suction line. And it goes into the compressor where it compresses that vapor and it turns it into even hotter temperature vapor, like something like 170 or 180 degrees, and then it goes into the coil that wraps around the condenser. The warm air temperature is now cooler than the condensate coil. Hence, as hot air doesn't get attracted to hot air, it gets rejected, but it does help cool down the condensate coil. As it cools down the condensate coil, you can see it'll come out as a liquid. And as it comes out as a liquid, it's in the smaller copper line right here, and it drops down and returns back to the evaporator coil. But before it goes through the coil as a liquid, it goes through the metering device, or the TXV valve in this case, which lowers its pressure and its temperature, and then the warmer air, the hotter air here, is attracted to cold, and so it absorbs it in the coil and raises it to the superheat, but also cools down your heat in your house. So that's basically how the AC split system works. We'll go over it in more detail later, but I find, and we'll probably talk about the A-frame coil compared to the flat coil and the new N coil they have. So that's it for today, and we'll see you in the next video.